Welcome back to Season 2 of the Street Angel podcast with myself, Angelo Thomas. Okay, so welcome back to today's episode, or episode 2 of Season 2 of the Street Angel podcast. And today we have a really special guest, a really good friend of mine, David Curtis, who is here to talk today with us, about the 5D. So I know a lot of you guys out there who've been listening to snippets of the podcast, as well as been seeing some of my posts, how I touched upon the 5D. I've asked, what is the 5D? So I thought that, like I mentioned last week, that I'd bring David on for the podcast and we can chat in our terms, or how we do, or how we work really with the 5D. And we'll try and keep it simple and not too complex. But like anything, if there are parts that you don't understand, or we do go off in our little world, like always, give me a message, give me a call, or provide some feedback. So I'll hand it over to David. If you just want to say hi to everyone and introduce yourself.
Yeah, g'day everyone, how's it going? This is probably the third or fourth sort of session we've done over the past couple of years, discussing spiritual matters. But as we were talking about, I think it was time we started actually talking about 5D, because that's where we're all headed apparently, in our work, and what that actually means, what it actually looks like and feels like. And we talked about it for some time about doing this session, so finally here we are.
Yeah, agreed. And so David and I have, we normally do some Facebook Lives actually in our closed off Facebook group, the Light League, but we thought, let's take it to the masses. So I might kick things off with, if we try and skip through exactly like dimensions. So, the fifth dimension is basically what we're referring to when we call the 5D. And jump in here too, David, but from a nutshell, if we work our way through it really quickly before we get to the crux of it, but there's a long-held thought or idea that we, us humans now, as I'm tapping on this desk or myself, we are 3D. We're in the third dimension. So that's kind of like your starting point. And there's this idea that eventually human consciousness will either ascend or move towards a 5D, a fifth dimensional state. And it's again, like there's theories out there that whether or not we're returning to or going to is irrelevant, because some people believe Atlantis was a 5D way. So I thought if we start there with the real basic terms of just to conceptualize it in our human brains, so the 3D is us right here.
Yeah.
The 5D is what we'll be discussing, and if you want to bridge the link, probably. The fourth D, or the 4D, is like our dream state, the astral plane. When Aboriginal people talk about the dreaming, it's very much it goes into that space. Even shamanic state is when you go into that fourth dimensional place, the astral plane type of. So that's a real, in a nutshell, how to go. I'm just trying to start off really simple.
Yeah, even another way to put it, like you say, the 3D, like you say, it's a solid world that we're in every day. We three different forward, back, and up. There's three different directions that we actually move in. When you got 4D, it's all of those states where, like you're saying, you have your dreaming states, your shamanic states, all of those. But what you're doing when you're accessing the fourth dimension, when you're doing that, and using those tools, those sort of dreaming state, sort of mind tools that you can use, or you can use, what shamans do, using psychedelics, lots of different tricks you can do, but you don't actually need them. You can actually do it without it. So when with 4D, you actually start to see into other spaces, other realms that are not visible from in the 3D, because they're underneath everything else. And that's what the 4D is. So you're able to see into other spaces, other realms, or look into 3D spaces from any direction. That's the 4D. So a lot of our early work was doing this, when we're doing clearing work and investigating stuff for people and helping people out. or even with our learning. This is what we were doing in the 4. Now with the 5th, it's a whole new ball game. It's seeing all of that at once, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's hard to describe, but you can look forward, back in time, across other different realms, your lifetimes, other people's lifetimes, access other realms for knowledge and things. But a lot of this is being done with the high mind.
Yeah.
So this is the point of 5D, is that consciousness. It's accessing that higher consciousness and working with it. So it's not a state of being or a destination, arrival somewhere. You go, I'm no longer existing in the 3D, I'm existing in the 5D. No. It doesn't work like that. It's consciousness in a very big way. And when you reach this state, it is, when you start talking about manifesting, it goes to a whole new level. It's more along the lines of co-creating. And you can use that for healing and other things as well. But when I say manifesting and co-creating, it's not, where you say, okay, I want $20 million and a big house and an airplane. Unless that is part of your life purpose here, your contract in this lifetime, it's not going to come, because the universe or one source or whatever it is will only give you what you need, not what you want, to achieve what your life lessons and your purpose here in this lifetime is. So this is why knowing yourself is important. That's why coming through those other steps before you get here is important. Shedding your attachments and getting to know yourself and all those sorts of things, even past lifetimes that are relevant to this lifetime, they all help, like you say, bridge from the 3D through the 4th and up into the 5th to enable you to work in a much broader and larger way, not just for yourself, but for the collective, I think is.
And it's what you're talking. It's what you're talking about when a 5D is in a state of being, or the 5D, because it's you're so true. It's kind of like for all good intentions, it's happened, but it's still happened where the broader community, the 5D has been hijacked. Where it's kind of like, if I give up refined sugars, if I give up alcohol, if I give up meat, or if I give up watching television, that, like what you said, I no longer am living in the 3D and I'm living in the 5D. And we're like, well, to be honest, we're still humans, and we still need to balance that aspect of having the human existence on Earth as well as the spiritual existence in that higher 5D state as you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's just something to balance. Like, it's okay to have a glass of wine and to also do spirit work, but it's okay to also watch some telly and also go and be a healer. Like, it's okay to want to do that. And I think I referenced that last week when I was talking about platypus spirit saying balance.
Yep.
It's all about the balance. And
that's right.
I mean, it's something you and I have been talking to too, David, about the balance.
Yeah.
When you're doing 5D.
Yeah, that's becoming more and more prevalent in the message, in the learning and the practice, is that balance is important. So as you go along, I've noticed, as I've gone along, I've noticed that reliance on artifacts and symbols and other things, whether it be jewelry or anything, images, music even, is falling away more and more, and just trusting more and more in the higher self to be able to do the work, not needing those tools anymore. Like they're handy for when you are, like you say, bridging the gap and learning. But in time, you should be shedding those things because they're tools. You don't get attached to them. You got to let them go. I still go back to them now and then, the odd, smudging, particular crystals, even sounds. Still go back to them now and then for certain work. But that sort of leads me to the next point, is when people are trying to manipulate energies, spells, incantation, mantras, intentions, even just plain old intentions, if they're strong enough, these can cause imbalance because you're trying to manipulate and control the energy, and you'll always get imbalance with that. As I've always said,
Oh, sorry. I was in my world then. It's like exactly when you're talking about the spells, incantations, manipulation, I keep bringing it back to that modern day conception of 5D. and how people keep using that word transmute.
Mm.
And you see a lot of people out there saying, I'm transmuting this energy. I'm breaking free of the matrix. I'm pushing away. I'm clearing old past programs. And it seems to be this, as lovely as it is, a really aggressive form of pushing everything out of whack, for lack of a better word. You're really out of whack because you're just bulldozing straight through like a water buffalo. You know what I mean? Like just pushing straight through, not going with that flow of the water, of the energy of this. So yeah, that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, that's right. That's all of that now. So that you get into this imbalance. Like I've always said, you know, tell a lot of people that I've mentored, you know, stay in the light always, but ignore the dark at your peril. You have to have knowledge of that and what it looks like when you're looking at it and experiencing it, or others are. And in more recent times with the 5D work we're doing, you have to give space to the dark to be able to heal, because if they're constantly being attacked, when do they get a chance to heal? They need it more than anybody, you know, as well as the person you may be working with or situation. So this is why having that higher awareness, consciousness of that balance of, yes, I'm dealing with this, but I need to take care of that as well. Otherwise, it's just going to come back and it's just going to make more problems even. So this is where you actually start rearrangement is the closest word you can have to it, of flow, you know, domain. So we maintain balance or bring balance back to the situation. And this is also shedding our own fears of the dark, you know, those things.
And shedding fears of what is it? It's kind of like the long time we've been told to fear the 3D, fear the matrix, that everyone around us is trying to manipulate us, that, you know, widespread manipulation goes on. But the thing is, you don't fear it by simply, as you said, a state of being is your 3D, a state of consciousness is your 5D. And when you lift your consciousness up to see from a broader perspective, like what you're mentioning at the beginning, it's where you no longer fear what's going on. You just you move with what your vibration is attracted to, and like what you're talking about with the co-creation. You weave through it, you know. We've still got to put the bins out. Like, we've still got to be in touch with the news. We've still got to feed ourselves. But from a higher state of consciousness, there's a lot of crap going on in this world. But if we lift ourselves up, we just move through it. And like you said, it's like a really good analogy is like people are scared of dark spirits, but they're also scared of these like manipulation of other people. You can use them as the same context. Work around them, flow around them. Understand they have their place.
Yeah, that's right. And manipulation sort of brings you to the next point. You're saying in manipulation of people, as we know, you know, interfering with free will or interfering with a person's life contract, what they're here for, are big no-nos. So this is why manipulation, again, is problematic. But if you flow and you try work with them, you'll know pretty quickly whether you're allowed to or not. You know, sometimes you go do the work, nothing happens. It's like, this is for you. I'm not allowed to do anything. You realise pretty quickly, and that's and then the harm's been done. Which is, like you say, try and manipulate it, force and be harsh and aggressive. Yeah, that's when you will get problems. And how many times that you and I and others have had to come behind and fix up what other people have done because they didn't know what they were doing. They thought they got off and done a course and done a bit, a weekend maybe doing spiritual stuff. Oh, I'm off and I'm healing now. But because they haven't done the work, the conscious work, and learned, they're actually causing harm. And how many times you and I have seen it, we've had to come behind and fix it. And and this is why it's important to do slow down and learn properly. And find mentors and find those who are doing the work so they can guide you properly. I think this is important, especially as you get more into that 5D. It is more important.
And when we talk about, for people listening to this, it's like when we talk about to do the work and some practical things, it's kind of like it goes back to what you were talking about at the beginning around getting to know yourself. Like when you work with spirit or we work with energy, the universe, the divine, whichever you want to call it, If you don't know yourself and you're not honest with yourself, they'll see straight through you. They'll see straight through your crap.
Yep.
If you go to other people and say, "Look, I'd love to heal you with certain, be an energy healer. I'd love to heal you and help you to receive balance in your day." But behind the scenes, you don't know what's going on with yourself, why you're not balanced, and you don't have to be perfect. No one is. Awareness is your first step. It doesn't work. You meet resistance, and that's what I always say to people is when you do the work, first step is look inside yourself, close your eyes, do some meditations, do some reflections, journaling. I don't know, even reflect sometimes on what pisses you off about other people, because that's a reflection of you. That's your first step, and then to move then into that 5D state of consciousness up there, it's work from your heart space, like what we're talking about with the darkness. Be kind, compassionate, empathetic, while still having strong bloody boundaries, because even you need to that regardless if it's like a golem spirit or a human. They'll both test them. But doing the work in a nutshell is getting to know yourself, reflecting, having that awareness, and then just trying to get to that point of where you operate from a state of your heart.
Yes, absolutely. That's very important. Like you're saying, having that compassion and that empathy, that allows you to work with, those that really need the healing the most. Those that have fallen into darkness and are pretty much stuck there because they don't know how to get out of it. And if they're constantly being attacked, well, they're not going to get out of it. But if you start providing a space where they can be safe and give them time to reflect and deal with stuff, then they can move on. You might only work with them for a short period or once. That's all it takes. But that working from the heart is critical. And those divine energies, really letting them flow through you, like that's important too, because that guides you as much as protects you and helps dealing with the situation. When you let it flow, absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry, I was going to talk about Atlantis then, but then as soon as you said when those divine energies flow through you, it's spot on. It's like when I work with Archangel Gabriel or Kuan Yin, when I'm trying to push something, when I'm trying to do my own energy work, and I know that I'm not being honest with myself or I'm not coming at it from the right state of mind, and those energies flow through you, God, you get whacked. You get taken to this other place where they're like, all right, we're going to remove you before you do you more harm. So it's constantly being in a state of learning. That's what I always feel 5D, the fifth dimensional space is, it's that state of consciousness where, and then onto Atlantis. One of the big things that I've always been shown by spirit is that, again, Atlantis wasn't a physical place. Now, look, whether it was or wasn't, according to archaeologists, I can't say that word, is not really what we're talking about today. But the spirit has shown me that the people who existed during the era of Atlantis, whatever you want to call it, they operated from here. They were about the collective. They knew their place. They're like, for example, you, David, might have been a healer. I might have been a seer. Someone else might have been a leader. Someone might have then done the crops. And we wouldn't have seen that as being an inferior or superior role, because we all knew that we had to work together and, come at that collective space to lift everybody up. And it's kind of why it frustrates me when people say I'm breaking free from the matrix and I want to go off grid and I want to remove myself from the 3D, because I'm like, well, even in Atlantean times, people still would help with the physical, the crops. They would help with the cleaning. They would help with the maintenance of the temples. They're still a tangible existence to humanity. So,
that's right. They're well known for their seafaring. There was a huge seafaring nation. They traded metals. So they did a lot of the very human things, what was happening in ancient times. But yet they did all the other work as well, like you say, the 5D and knowledge and education. And somewhere along the way, it went awry. And then what happened to them happened. And it's not the first time we've seen this. This happens in nature as well, where things stagnate or imbalance. things have to correct itself, and this is what you see sometimes is destructive forces at play, and this is where in your work you want to try and avoid by maintaining balance, and but also allowing things to flow, but having that knowledge of persons you're really sometimes you're not allowed to do with that situation. It's for them to deal with. You can't force it, and all those sorts of things. This is where empathy, like you say, comes in hugely. Reading the room basically is the simplest way to put it, but you're doing it on a spiritual level, a much higher level. Reading the situation and what needs to be done, or there might be nothing for you to do. It's
and that's hard for some people because we've been taught so long that if we have these, well, let's say in any industry, if we've been taught so long because we've been doing the work, we've been practicing, honing our skills, really becoming a master of our craft, that we've always got to be doing something. But sometimes, like you said, read the room. And as if you're operating in the spiritual, if you're just operating full stop, actually, not even spiritual, you're operating from this 5D consciousness in everyday life, you can actually walk into a room, whether it be physical or energetically, like you say, and be like, you know what? This is not for me to intervene.
Yep.
Swallowing your pride. It's it's about removing yourself from the ego. And and like you said, you can do a reading for someone for years and say, look, we've now both reached a point where it's fork in the road. You go left, I go right. And that's okay. So you're right. It's about stripping back that, realizing, what was I saying earlier before we were recording? We're little ants. We're small bits of particles in this beautiful big thing of energy that is what God, universe, source. That realizing that, you know what, sometimes it's not always about us.
Yeah.
And that's a real 5D approach.
Yep. And I think that's the importance of being aware of ego, especially your own. And like you say, there's nothing for you to do here, or sometimes there's, it comes to an end, an arrangement with someone, like you say, readings or anything, could be mentorship, or it comes to an end, and it's like, you gotta. That's the first thing that needs to be let go, is the ego. So there's no attachments to anything. You may be able to do something with that situation, but if you're not allowed, that's it.
And even in friendships, I also say to people, okay, so if I brought this to the practical, how could you approach it? Not doing spirit work or mentoring or healing, but it's with friendships that I do say often that the angels taught me years ago that whole idea that people come into your life for a reason, season, and life type thing.
Yep. And
to live in life in like a 5D. Sorry, I'm smelling salt water everywhere. The Atlanteans are really around me now. That's my whole face. But to live in the 5D state of consciousness is like when you realize that your friendship's coming to an end with someone. It's not about having to, it's not about a negative thing. It's not about anything bad other than you two have just grown to a point where, you know what, you can maybe say good day to each other on the street. You can maybe, I don't know, if you bump into each other in 7 years, you can be polite and civil, but it's an understanding that you of people have grown and you're going in separate paths, and that's okay. You just no longer share interests, and that's one thing that I really see as a practical application of 5D ways, is that you can just admit, that friendship's over, that relationship's over, walking away from a career, there's no animosity. It's just your learning is different and you want something different out of life. And if you're the person who's being, say that it's your business and someone's walking away from you, it's not a slight against you. It's not like they're wanting to go into bigger and better things and you're the lesser and lower. It's just different. So, it's having empathy for that person, saying, I get where they're coming from. Because to be honest, I'd like to start my own business, or I'd like to do a career change as well one day. So, having that empathy for everything around you.
Yeah, that's right. That's where our spiritual practice comes into the 3D everyday life of. Sometimes you got to let go of those attachments. You will risk stagnating and not growing if you try and hang on to those things or try and force them. So that's, again, this is constantly happening all the time in our lives, even though you may be doing 5D work.
Mm.
You say we're still in the 3D, and you still have to take care of that. But this is where that practice can help you
Yeah.
their life a bit better, because you're seeing things more clearly and feeling things more clearly. You can go, okay, time to let that go, or I need to focus on this now, or in lots of different ways. It helps you as a person in lots of ways as well. So it's not just about the collective; it's about the individual as well. So
Yeah. And I keep getting this word balance. Like I said, my Atlantean guides, they're right behind me. They keep saying balance. What you're talking about at the beginning is that balancing how you work with the energy up there. But again, in human life, because I keep getting these images of people, the holy man analogy, where to talk about compassion and coming from the heart and always seeing the lessons in life, it's very much like a monk mentality or a holy man. And it's not sustainable for every single human on this world to go and often live that holy life, to go off grid. Because like it's just not. But with that 5D idea, it's that you're able to balance your physical needs with your spiritual needs. And it's like, balance the needs of what you want as a person, but what your soul journey is happening. And it comes back to society as well. Like, it's not about me being holier than thou and saying, oh, well, if a friendship breaks up, disassociating and almost being detached from reality. It's just being honest with yourself and saying, look, I can't put too much energy into it because it's making me feel bad or it's dragging me down. So I've got to get that balance back in life, and this is how I do it. So 3D and 5D have to work in balance. Because otherwise we can't be in the dream in our whole lives. It's that's truly stagnation. That's where escape reality. I always feel.
Yeah, that's right. But there's real examples too, from real people. I think Gandhi was one of them. He's saying that victory through violence is tantamount to defeat because it's momentary. One thing he said, but on the other side, he said that it's better to be violent if there's violence in our hearts rather than to wear the cloak of incompetence. So basically, he's saying you got to deal with these very real things. Sometimes reacting in a violent or aggressive way here is not good because it'll only come back onto you, and no good will come of it. But over here, if people are suffering and you've got to act, well, then you need to act, because it just doesn't keep going on, and people are going, so they're just sort of very loose examples of, again, the 3D, and then but still having that higher enlightenment of, okay, which path to take and when. And it's not easy. Like
and that's it's right. It's not easy, and that's why the 5D, and for anyone that I'm using inverted commas, the 5D is a very complex thing, and that's why a lot of people do ask me, "What is it? I don't understand it." And look, a lot of people out there aren't going to fully understand it today. But you're right. Maybe it's just about getting in sync and trying different ways to actually embody it, and then you start to understand it, because it's so true. It's about knowing the difference between, when to do love and light and when to not. It's about when to actually get to a point where you do go more into one or the other. It's a lived experience, isn't it? You got to put your money where your mouth is and just live it. But at the same time, it's like that Gandhi thing you just mentioned. Then it's about it's not about trying to escape the 3D and escape everything. And if you think you're just going to give up things in life, not, as I said, really simple thing, not watch television. That doesn't make you living in a 5D state of consciousness.
No.
Because you're not understanding why you might have to stop television, or why you might have to change your diet, or why you might have to do meditation. You're just, like you said, you're thinking back in that state of tools. But these tools around me, where it's not, it's you.
Yeah, that's right. It does come back to you. And, people may say that, but if you're a spiritual person and, enlightened, and you shouldn't be thinking about violence or even, undertaking violence of any kind. We think back to, I think it's Lord Shiva, the story of him. He participated in a battle for 5 days, 5-day long battle. Even though the divine being, he knew what the outcome was, he still had to play his part for that outcome to be true.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not saying you go out there and start belting people around the head. No, just you need to understand.
No.
You need to understand there is violence in the 3D world. We see it around us all the time. And how do you take a stand against that? You know, you can go out and be passive, but sometimes you have to be more aggressive and say, enough, we don't want this, you know.
Yeah.
And then when you got enough people saying that, you know, it may seem violent, but in fact it's not. It's just people shifting
Collective.
and saying, no more, you know, we don't want this because of the harm it's doing to the individual and the collective. You know, again, it's that we've got these very real 3D things that we are immersed in, as well as trying to strive for the 5D. And it's a lot of work. You know, it's saying just shedding things from your life is not going to do it.
No, and taking the opposite to what society is doing. You know, I mean, there's always I don't like to use these words because it attracts negativity, but a lot of people dive into the conspiracy theories and they feel that that's a 5D way because they're seeing the truth. But the problem is, again, you're just following someone else's path. You're not doing the work of what sits right with you and what's your way. And it is true. Sometimes you have to defend yourself. I mean, the first thing that came to mind when you were talking about that was the Shaolin monks. You know, they're not just going to stand by as the Mongols come in and try and invade their beautiful cities. You know, they're violent. They will kick your ass. But it's true. Like it's about knowing when to, and that's the thing. And the other thing, spot on of what you're talking about. People say, well, if you're so spiritual, how come you still do want to operate in the 3D space, or there is still the need for violence, or yada yada yada. That idea. The simple response I always say is, it's because I'm not a Bodhisattva. I'm not a Buddha. I'm not enlightened. I'm still bloody learning. So I am going to make mistakes. I am going to still want to crave this human experience. And that's okay, because that was in my contract when I first jumped back into the meat suit, which was to go through this. Like what you said, your spirit knows, like Lord Shiva knew what the outcome is. But we still have to play our part in it. And that if that means getting messy and getting dirty, then so be it. But balance the expectations on yourself that we're still bloody humans.
Yeah.
So that's my answer. It's because I'm not an enlightened being. And if I was, I sure as hell wouldn't be here. Like, I'd be up there hanging with the angels or the Palladians, I would say. But we have to do this. I feel that's a deflection when people say that to me. Well, if you're so enlightened or you're so spiritual, how come you still do X, Y, Z? And I'm like, wait a second, you're deflecting. You're putting your own image of reality and resistance on it to me. And I'm like, I'm not perfect. That's my response. So
that's right. None of us are, you know, going through everyday life, you know, we're gonna get angry at stuff or upset about stuff, or we're going to be happy about stuff or excited about stuff. It's just all part of being here. You know?
The balance aspect.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, even though you're in the 5D and you're aware of a lot of things, it doesn't matter. You're still here. You're still going to live day to day and do stuff. Like the number of beings that we've worked with just through learning, you know, and like you say, bridging from the 3D to the 5 has been astounding. The number of beings we have worked with, and you know, from angels to dragons to all the other beings from all over the world, different cultures. You know, we've tapped into one time or another, animal spirits, elements, even galactic and cosmic stuff. You know, how fortunate to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Whilst you're still living in a 3D body, like having that consciousness, be able to access all of that. I think that's pretty astounding, you know, and that doesn't stop. You know, it goes on, and you keep learning and growing, and even now, like I say, we've got an audience having this conversation. You know, different beings.
And you're not talking human audience.
No, not a human one. All different kinds watching us, and like they're in different layers, watching us talk about this stuff. It's funny, and but also like at the start of this, before we started recording, like there's some things I sort of don't talk about that, like, and you know, choking up the throat. And there's a good reason for that, you know, because maybe people are not ready for that level of engagement, you know, with this sort of knowledge and practice. And we have to be mindful of that as well and back off. And so I think, even though we're talking this, we've got people watching over us and guiding us, or beings.
Yeah.
At the
And
same time.
they're helping us with the balance as well, because the balance is touch on the topic, give some concepts, some examples, and then but don't go too deep into your own experiences, because we don't want to sway other people, or we don't want to confuse them. So yeah, we've got I know I've got my Atlanteans here that energetically just behind me, that I can feel them just every now and then pull me back. So, but I mean, if we could quickly, not quite wrap up yet, but just sum up what we've been talking about to bring back is like, yeah, so 5D, whenever people hear about the 5D, from our perspective, it's a state of consciousness. A state of being in is actually your 3D world. It's us, it's you and I talking to each other now on the video. It's, my dog's next to me, food, water. But at the same time, don't get too wrapped up in that we have to get to this destination or have to get to the 5D. Just bring balance to your life. Start to come from compassion and empathy and, that type of thing. And what you're saying, do the work, start to get towards it, start to reflect, start to look at yourself. And that could be enough in essence, or a nutshell, for people today that don't know what the 5D is. Like, that could just be enough, is to understand roughly, here's 3D, here's 5D, the 4D's in the middle. All right, I'm human. That's my spiritual consciousness in the 5D. How about, I just might start reflecting, might start going for walks in nature, might just start doing those little things of seeing the world around us.
Yep.
And that's your perfect step towards the 5D. For more advanced people, we could say, do a little bit more intense work, reach out to some beautiful guides, some beautiful ascended masters and angels. Ask for them to show you things from a different perspective. Like what you say, pull yourself right up and look at the world fast. What's it? Front, forward, back, in time, around?
Yeah.
I can't even articulate it because it's, all at once.
Yeah, that's right. Like you're saying, you don't have to do, like you said, that intense work. You can just go and connect with nature, or even something that you're passionate about, that you enjoy doing, and you just get into this zone where the energy just flows. That there is the very basic, 5D, because you don't have to learn this stuff. You're already doing it as a spiritual being. You are just becoming aware of it. It's as simple as that. And like you're saying, and then actually, with others who have been doing work for far longer and learning and doing more intense stuff, well, then a whole lot more just opens up for them. Being able to see and understand. But there's reasons for that. Some people, they're not meant to do that. They just want to get along and do what they're doing in their life and still have that flow and be a part of the collective. And now those who do that more intense stuff, well, they're the guides and teachers and those who lead the way. That's needed as well. So you're right. There's different levels of being in that 5D, awareness.
Yeah, it's so true, because I once posed a question to people back in 2018, where I said, what would you say if I already told you that we already were in the 5D? Like, our souls, our consciousness we already are fifth dimensional beings. But it just happens that we're in this meat suit doing 3D stuff. So you're right. And I've seen some of the most amazing 5D-like people who are not spiritual. It's what you're saying. Artists, when people create, when they sculpt, beautiful poets. You can also see really passionate leaders, like community leaders that might be leading like in the disability space or in the advocacy space. You name it, like teachers. You can see some beautiful educators out there. They love to educate. When they're in that zone, they are in a 5D state of consciousness while being in a 3D state. So you're right, we already are there. So stop stressing and just take it back a step, slow it down and go, all right, what drives me? What lights my fire? Because that could be another good way in which you could get to your 5D thinking. Your consciousness is, what lights my fire?
Yeah,
and
I think so. That just following their passion and what makes them, what they really enjoy. Like you say, all those different people, artisans, writers, actors, leaders, community leaders. There's a whole range of people doing it already in a way they're probably not even realizing, and enjoying it. And also, so you could be doing that, but in your everyday as well. Like you're gonna you need that balance. So some days you're going to have great days, other days you're going to have lousy days. But when you do have the lousy days, don't get into that mindset of, oh, why is this happening to me, or I don't want this. Deal with it. Deal with what's in front of you in that moment, and balance will come back way quicker.
Yeah.
If you attach to it, no, I don't want this is hard, and they're the problem. No, it's just going to drag on.
Yeah.
So you got to learn.
It's like the
yeah
attachment you're saying. Yeah, don't get attached to it.
Yeah.
To the negative, the bad days.
Deal with it, and then you're through it, and then things come back into balance, and that's the quickest way, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so true that when people are in that beautiful alignment, they are 5D, and it's why people these days are finding more and more the hustle culture. You know, having a side hustle, having a this hustle. It's very 3D. So when you see spiritual people talking about, I'm in this 5D state and I'm hustling, like, oh no, you're actually forcing. Just chill, brother. Just chill. Let it flow. And it's like you said at the very beginning, it's about, if you manifest something you don't need, you're not actually manifesting. You got to co-create in a way in which you need and what's in alignment, and that'll come a lot easier than if you're hustling and you're focusing on, today I didn't make my $1 million. Do you know what I mean? Well, you know what? Most people aren't going to do that today. But you're right. Focus on the bigger picture. Go, today might have been crap. This week might have been a write-off, but I've still got that goal. I've still got this purpose. I've still got these practices in place. And, you know, why was today crap? Well, I reacted a certain way, or I put myself in a situation, or it could be a number of different things. But as long as then you deal with it like you say, you're good. Stop blaming others.
Yeah.
I sometimes still do that too. Oh, I can't get the computer to work. Must be Apple. Oh, I can't get this to. Oh, must be the bloody someone else. And then you're like, actually, I'm forcing this. I should go for a walk.
That's it.
Chill.
Yeah. We all do it still.
Yeah.
Get upset with things, and waiting for a parcel to come. Oh, where the hell is it? Somebody's not doing their job. But no, you just gotta sort of chill, like you say, chill. Just kick back. It'll get to you.
Yeah.
I've had this year. I've had that happen to me a lot. Talking about parcels. I've had parcels go astray. Different destinations, and you're tracking it, and it's been really frustrating. And then it's like, you know what? Just write to them and tell them, look, it's gone to the wrong place, and then ignore it, and then it gets here a lot faster. But if I'm there like hounding him, bloody hell, where's this thing? I shouldn't have went there. It drags on for weeks. It really does.
Yep.
I
know.
Tell them once, and then bang, and it gets resolved much faster. Yeah.
It actually does. Yeah. And look, I'm one, and I always tell people I'm one of the most impatient people you've ever met. It's very much this walk trait, and I myself have learned. Sorry, the spooks are now opening mirrors on me. Physical ones. They're telling me to wrap it up now. But it's when I have other people come out of nowhere telling me just bloody chill, that things start to move, and that is a 5D state of thinking. Actually, that's a dragon. That's a 5D dragon way. When you stop resisting or you stop pushing, and you let everything else in front of you just fall into place, then the dragons fly straight through, and so can you. It's a very much that state of thinking.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing of, you're putting an attachment to a very particular outcome, and when you want it, it just creates blocks. It just gets worse. Like you say, you're forcing it. But if you're just like, okay, deal with what's in front of you, and then just let it go and let it flow, and it'll happen. It happens way quicker. I've noticed that. That's one of the big lessons this year. That's been for me.
Yeah.
Because again, just letting go that you want this very specific outcome at this time in this way, but there could be a better way, because you're, like you're saying, attaching and putting the block in a way, it's going to take forever.
Exactly. Or it just doesn't eventuate. And it's something that I might do. We might bring you on board to do another chat where we talk about something different, something in depth about that in another episode, or something. That's very much where you. We could talk about it more in depth. It's that concept of handing it over. I always say, when I handed it over to the angels before I was, when I started to do my publishing work, I did not know what to do with it. I went away, but I handed it over to the angels, and I said, what will happen? What will come out of that? What will flow? And we even have a friend that tells us to actually like put your hand in the dirt if you're resisting too much. Put your hand in the dirt, ground your energies, let it flow, and it'll come to you.
Yeah.
So hard lessons, but again, that's a 5D acceptance of humanity, is that you've got to balance that. You've got to balance what you're being taught, what you're being learnt with the divine flow, and sometimes you've just got to cop it on the chin.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah. Sometimes it's been like that as well. Like you say, handing it over, like higher mind or higher self. Okay, you know better. You deal with it, and then you just switch off from it.
Yeah,
you literally got to do that, and then
exactly.
It mightn't happen straight away, but it will happen. A better solution will come along in a way that you never imagined, and that's happened a lot recently as well. So they're all good things to do. That letting go, that practice of letting go is still relevant, even with working with the 5D.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I know it reflects back in everyday life too. If you're trying to force a project, if you're trying to force a relationship, if you're trying to force, a writing thing or an artistic thing, or if you're trying to force anything, it won't happen. I mean, sure, in some industries it will, but I don't know, you're going to take down half the world with you. If you smash it through, but just hand it over. So, speaking of that, like I said, these mirror doors are moving, like they're doing that weird warping thing. The spirits are winding us up. So, I just wanted to thank everyone for listening to, this episode of the 5D. David and I, we've hit on some simplistic things, but also some really in-depth things. So, if anyone out there does any of your questions, let us know. And what they can do is, if they reach me, David, on Instagram or email, then I can share it with you, the questions or concepts or anything like that. And if anyone else would like us to actually go more in depth on a certain aspect, or are interested in hearing about the idea of handing it over to the angels, to let us know. So thought I'd just thank everyone there. Is there anything else, David, you wanted to share, or good for the moment?
I think we touched on quite a bit. We sort of ran over time a little bit, but that's okay.
That's okay.
It gives us a lot of material for other sessions if people have questions. So
yeah, excellent. All right, so remember to subscribe to the Street Angel on your podcast directories, and also follow the Angelo Thomas at Instagram to find out more. So thanks, guys.